listeners that have been already ultimate hi-fi experience on this very special Saturday here. It's House Mission Mill, KMUZ, 88.5 FM, Turner. Turn it up! Over to Gonzo.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Is it working? Turn it up, turn it up. Hello, check. 1, 2, test.
Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. We have liftoff, everyone. Hey, thanks for coming down, everyone. I'm Jim Gordon, and I'm one of the disc jockeys and a board member as well at KMUZ. This is a rather historic night. We really appreciate you coming down to be a part of it. We've got a nice evening planned the next couple hours, lots of interesting events, some fun things, some secrets and some prizes that I don't even know about, so we'll find out. And I'm like one of the inside people, so if I don't know about it, it's a cool surprise. So I want to mention a few things. First of all, this is being broadcast live on KMUZ 88.5 FM. So if you're not here, get on down here. We're going to have a good time the next couple hours till about 7. We want to thank folks like Gilgamesh and Anthony Del Cellars. We've got some wine and some beer over here. So you're welcome to come over and purchase a drink if you'd like. While you're here, we have a lot of food. Please help yourself to some of the snacks around here if you haven't had dinner yet. Maybe this will suffice. It's not like a full-course meal or anything. It'll be a lot of fun. You'll look around, you'll see a lot of folks with badges on. And these people with badges, there's Vicky's got one. These are the people that have been trained and are approved to be programmers and DJs on KMUZ. And they're the people that can answer your questions. If you are not a programmer, we're always looking for more programmers. We still have some holes to fill in our slot. And of course, there's a number of things we'll be asking you to do tonight. One of them is to donate if you're able to do that. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. We have a gentleman here who works with our underwriting department. Here's Glenn. Glenn is able to answer any questions if you are with a company or you're an individual that wants to help underwrite some of our programs at KMUZ. And of course, if you can't do it tonight, you're welcome to do it any time on our website at kmuz.org. We're taking donations there. And we have a big jar. It's a lovely Vicky here. And we are taking donations there as well. So all help is appreciated. We are, by the way, a nonprofit tax, whatever what's it called, a 501(c)(3). And we are able to, of course, make it a tax deduction. I want to introduce Karen. Karen Holman is our executive director on the board, president of the board, and she was the original one that got this whole idea for the radio station going many, many moons ago. And we're kind of going to get a history of the station and how it all came about. So Karen Holman, go on.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. So I wanted to give a brief history, and I actually wanted to start out with something that, because I've told this story many, many times, and I thought I need to say something different that I haven't said before. So I wanted to tell you about the very first time when I started looking into this. And I remember sitting in my living room on a chair with my laptop in my lap, and I was about 6 months pregnant with my daughter, and my son was about 1 year old, running, or not running, but crawling around in front of me. And they are now in 2nd and 4th grade. So a lot of time has passed, but that was when I first sat down on my laptop and first off realized how ridiculous the FCC.gov website is. And then also that's when I realized how difficult it is to get an FM station, a non-commercial educational station. And I thought, well, it had been 15 years since they allowed that to happen, but that means that it's just that much closer to possibly when you can have another station. So that was when I started getting on listservs and just of people who were starting radio stations or who had started them in the past, and just keeping an eye out. So that was around 2002, and it was 2006 when I found out that they were finally going to open that window of opportunity again to communities to finally have their radio stations. So it was 2006 that Prometheus Radio Project, a nonprofit out of Philadelphia that helps things like this happen, they were touring the Northwest, and so they contacted me and I contacted them, and we got them to give a talk at Willamette University. And so I put a call out to a lot of people to come, and what's amazing is I still have that sign-up sheet from May 2006 of a lot of the people who showed up to that first meeting to find out more about community radio, and many of those people are now DJs and are involved, and so it's incredible that they hung out and around for this whole process. So after that, we found a nonprofit organization, Salem Folklore Community, who said that they would be the sponsors. Essentially, they would own the broadcast license if we were successful. And so I got on their board, and we started one of the committees to get this going. And it was in October of 2007 that we finally submitted the application. So that was a full year process, and Brown Broadcast Services played a huge role in that. So they're an outstanding radio engineering company in Portland, and they did some phenomenal work for us. And I wanted to point out that at that point we raised $5,000 for all of the expenses that it took to get the application submitted. So this isn't to get the radio station going at all, this is just to get it going, and for the chance of having a community station here, $5,000, all of that was donated just by people who really wanted this to happen, 100%. We're just taking a chance. And so a big heartfelt thanks to all those people who had the faith that this would happen, because here it is. In August 2008, that was when we received a letter from the FCC saying, you've got it. There were other applicants for that frequency, but Brown Broadcast Services did an outstanding job on the radio or the engineering portion of the exhibit, and therefore we were granted that license. So we got the construction permit, and what it said on that construction permit was that you must be on the air by August 2011. Well, in August 2008, August 2011 seems so far in the future. And it's like, okay, oh, that's cool, all right. And there were just a few people who knew about it at that point. And it wasn't until June of 2009 when Janine said, Karen, you better get some more people on this. Because at that point it was her and me and maybe someone else, but not a lot of us knew what to do or were doing a lot, and so that's why I called the radio rally on June 9th, 2009, Tim's birthday. So Tim was there, Vicki was there, a lot of people came in, and what's really cool is I have a picture of the audience on that night, and again, I can point out people who were there in the audience, and again, who are now here still with us. So at that point, we just slowly were getting more and more people, and everyone who's been involved knows how crazy the ride has been. There were times when we were considering not going FM and just being online. I wasn't going to do that, but we were just talking about it because it seemed so insurmountable. All of the things that we needed to do, the money we needed to raise, how we were going to get the tower up on the hill, and the antenna, it just, the list goes on and on. So there has been miracle after miracle. One of those is our call letters, KMUZ. How cool are those? And we happened to be looking in and found those call letters the day that KMUZ in Gresham decided to dump the call letters. So we got some great call letters, and people coming into the story one by one and bringing in everything to bring us up to where we are today. In November 2010 is when WINES was formed. So that's the nonprofit that took the radio station construction permit from Salem Folklore Community. Everyone wanted to do it. It wasn't like we stole it from them, but they sold it to us for $1, and everyone, they were so supportive all the way. But now we have our own nonprofit, WINES, Willamette Information News and Entertainment Service. That is now the governing board, and we are all committed 100% to KMUZ. And so since then, the story from there to getting on the air in August 2011 is a crazy one, and I think Dave will be touching upon that. But we were on the air early August, and it was just a phenomenal day up on the hill, and Janine and I are in the back of her van, and we're talking, and my daughter's singing up there, and it was a beautiful day. So we made it, and now this studios we have, the number of people who have been involved with donating space, equipment, time, and everything to make what you see in there now is magnificent. And it's just, I can't tell you how happy I am to be here, because not only do we have the physical space, do we have an antenna up on a hill, but we have a family. We have this community radio station family that I missed so much when I was in Santa Barbara and I had a station there and came up here and it wasn't here. And it's just incredible. Makes me really happy. So I am going to pass the mic over to Dave Hammock, who's been instrumental. So thank you, and Tim will take it from here.
That's good. I want to mention a couple of things before I turn it over to Dave. We had some fundraisers along the way, some people that really kicked in, kind of in the you know, behind the scenes sort of thing. For instance, one of my friends is a chief engineer up at Alpha Broadcasting, which owns Kink and a bunch of other stations in Portland. They happen to be moving all of their 6 stations to one central location last summer. This is a year and a half ago. And I said, can you donate some equipment to us? So they did. We donated like 5 or 6 truckloads of equipment, a lot of which ended up in their studio or up at the broadcast area, the tower area. So thanks to Alpha Broadcasting. In fact, Mike, the engineer, stopped by today to see how we were doing. And this kind of one, you know, we haven't really mentioned them because in a sense they're competition, but Mike really supports what we're doing, community radio, and he says any way we can help. In fact, he told me again today, if there's anything you need, let's see if we can get it for you. So, because they're always recycling equipment here, so that was really nice. We also had a friend of mine who's down in Los Angeles, a really well-known speaker and author and collector of reggae stuff. He's got a house in Echo Park, Los Angeles, which has 300,000 items related to reggae. He toured with Bob Marley for 2 weeks back in 1978. He's come up here twice to do fundraisers for us. Roger Stephens, and Roger's he spent years and years in community radio down in Los Angeles doing a show called The Reggae Beat, and he's been very supportive of us as well. We brought him up here twice to do fundraisers and shows, one at the Grand Theater, one over Willamette. So I just want to make sure we get those mentioned. And Dave is going to talk about all the stuff that it took technically wise, technologically wise. What's the word? Anyway, Dave Hammock is on our board, and he's going to talk about what it took to get there with all that technology and everything else. A lot of stuff.
One of the reasons I've always been drawn to radio is you get to work sitting down. So, my name is Dave Hammock. I've done a lot of radio over the years, mostly in Alaska, but also in Oregon, over on the coast. And there's a couple of folks, fellows, who I hope are going to be here in time. They may be on the air, on the road, and if they are, I hope they're listening. But there are a couple of consulting engineers who I'll mention in a bit who've worked with us. One of them had done some work for me over on the coast in Astoria, where I managed a station. And when he heard I was moving to Salem, he went, "Oh, there's this group that has a construction permit, and you know, you got to give them a call. Maybe you can help out." You know, so I gave him a call, and sure enough, I started in radio, public radio, in 1970. And I've put stations on the air before. This has been a ride like no other. It is amazing the persistence and efforts of that original group of true believers, not just the board members, but some of the fans and folks who've been around and been supportive. It's been a great effort, and there have been some disappointments and things that make your head spin. But I showed up in the spring of 2010 and was there to help us make the transition when the Radio Project Committee of the Salem Folklore Community became the founding board of the Climate Information Music and Entertainment Service. And in the process, I began coordinating with the engineers. And one of the problems was we had a transmitter site issue. Now, Karen alluded to the fact that the reason we were awarded the construction permit instead of the other applicants was because we proposed to do more with the frequency, to cover more area, to reach more people with service than the others did. And that was because we had this very clever engineer, really skilled guys, who created this plan that showed how we could do this. Well, how we could do that was with a very complex antenna pattern. And it turns out you can only get that pattern that we proposed to the FCC from one point on the face of the planet. And that happens to be Whipper Hill. And we thought we had an arrangement. We had a couple of different arrangements. But as it turned out, one of the potential places for us to hang our antenna was going to cost us more each month than we planned the budget for the year for that. And the other decided they didn't want to have something. So I show up, and all of a sudden, the first thing we find out is that we don't really have a place to hang the antenna. Well, this is a problem if we're a radio station. So we had a whole bunch of us. Tim was involved, Max, others, scrambling around trying to figure out where to put it. And this is when we got involved with our friend Steve Sugg of Meritel, who has been a great supporter, but he really has had a key role in helping us get on the air. And it was Max and I were meeting with him trying to figure out how to, because we knew we were going to have to use his services to connect our studio to the transmitter. We couldn't afford a microwave, 2-hop microwave. Well, the internet was the only viable option to use for what's called the studio transmitter link. So we're talking to him about that kind of service, and he said, well, you know, why don't you just put your own pole up? I have a telephone pole I can give you. So he had a 90-foot wooden pole, which he offered to us. We were able to negotiate with the farmer who owns the land up on River Hill, the tree farm. And he was kind to us and gave us a reasonable rate for our little patch of ground. And so now we had a 90-foot pole, which we had to get up there on roads that are marked, no trucks longer than 65 feet. John Colley, a trucker, and his buddy Ray Reeser, if you ever want a 90-foot pole taken up a 65-foot limit road, they're the guys. And they did it, and they were pretty kind to us on the bill. We got the pole up there. We then had to plant the pole. We had to take a hole in the ground and stick it in there. And we had an outfit in out of Turner, called Bethel Excavating.
The photos.
Well, Bethel Excavating has been a great group. They did a number of things for us. We had Santana Crane out of the Turner State area. And we got the pole erected. Now, it seems like other than the tradespeople, construction type people, to be a consultant for this project, you had to be named either Mike or Robert. We had 3 Mikes and 3 Roberts. We had Mike Brown from Brown Broadcast Services, Inc. We had Mike Johnson from Mike Johnson Broadcast Technology. We had Michael Cousins, who was our FCC attorney. And then to actually climb the tower and hang the antenna on it, we had Robert Rogers of Broadcast Tower Services. Working with him, the surveyor who did the pointing of the antenna and certified the FCC, our directional antenna is done right, was Robert Hatfield. And the engineer who certified the actual structure that wouldn't fall down was Robert Johnson of Artisan Engineering out of Eugene. So 3 Roberts, 3 Michaels. I was hoping to have a couple of Michaels here, but I don't see them yet. Then we'll introduce you. But it was a long project. A lot of stuff had to happen in particular sequence, and of course there were needed to be permits, and that was interesting. We had an interesting time getting everything permitted. You think just put a pole in the ground wouldn't be too difficult, but it was challenging. I can tell you that the FAA has decided that there is no hazard to air traffic by having our 90-foot pole in the ground between 2 existing cell phone towers. But we had to have an air transportation hazard study done in order to get there. It was quite a process. But the transmitter and transmitter site required the help of these specialists. I want to put some kudos out here for the studio. Our budget for this station was originally $189,000. Now that was the grant budget. We knew it could be done for a little less if we had to. We didn't get that grant funding. So this whole thing, studio transmitter, when it's all done, is going to come in at under $60,000. One of the major reasons we've come in and been able to do that is because of Alpha Broadcasting and Tim's connection and the donations and the guys at the studio, Tim and Max and Andrew and whoever. They put together that stuff, and we didn't. We would not have been anywhere near that number, and we had to get those services off the rack, as it were, in professional services. So those guys did a great job for us. We had functioning studios, and I could go on and on with the details of the transfer. It was amazing what it took, but it is up there. And like I say, I was going to introduce more. I thought a couple of folks, but I guess our engineers aren't here. I I think I mentioned all the folks who contributed in terms of the contractors. Our transmitter shelter was built by a local outfit from Dallas called Millerville. And see, Bethel Excavating did their work, Santana Crane, and Mark Griswold of Griswold Electric is our contractor. So I think at this point I can recommend any of those folks. They did a good job for us, and we are on the air because of their timeliness, their professionalism, and in many cases their gentleness in their building department. They were quite frugal in what they built us for, and they've been very patient in us getting it paid off. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just put in a plug for both Bethel Excavating out of Turner, Maritel Internet Services out of Turner. We live in Turner. We use both of those companies. They're excellent.
Yeah, we've tried to use companies that were in our area. We view ourselves as a local radio station, and we've tried very much to use the local businesses out there by the transmitter site. Number one, because they knew the conditions. That they knew what they were likely to find under the ground once they started digging. And plus, they're close when something goes wrong. It always does. So, I don't know who's next on the agenda, Tamara. So again, this has been quite a ride. There was one piece of this. We thought in last spring and May that we had found one, not a loophole, but one remaining wrinkle in the FCC rules that would allow us more time to build the station. Karen told you we had until August 11th, 3 a.m. On 2011 to be on the air, or we lose that license. Well, it turns out there was one wrinkle that could allow us an extension of time, and we happened to qualify for it. And so we filed for it and thought everything was groovy. And then the day that extension was approved, that very day, the FCC lost an appellate court case. And the FCC, in response to that, rescinded the entire section of their rules that included that one exception. So on July 5th, we found out that instead of having 18 more months, we had 6 weeks to meet the deadline to be on the air or lose our license. So, working with Mike Brown, Robert Rogers, Michael Johnson, my cousins, all those guys, we came up with a plan that would allow us to comply with the new to change FCC rule, except we were too late to get building permits to be able to put the tower up in that period of time. So we put up a temporary 30-foot structure that was not fixed to the ground, wasn't permanently foundation, didn't require a permit. Got that on the air August 4, broadcast for a week, complied with the regulations, and then filed to the FCC for a special temporary authority to be off the air and dismantle that. And then as soon as we got the permit, we built the permanent tower and put it up. But it was a mad scramble. And there were moments though it was easy to lose heart. And once again, the board had to just take a deep breath and hold hands and just jump together off the end of the dock to make this happen. So there had been this, again, there's story after story of running up against a roadblock and then dancing around it or figuring a way around it or through it or over it. And this has been a remarkable story of getting the station on the air. And we've only just been done. As I keep telling my fellow board members, this has been the easy part, getting it on the air. Now, every day for the rest of our lives, you have a station to run. So anyway, we'll need your help to do that and hope that you'll be on the air and you'll be supporters of the new community station here in the Mid-Atlantic Valley. I'm glad I could be a part of it.
Okay, we'll go too far, Dave. This is up next for some sort of medals and things like that. I'm not sure what's going on. But we're going to have Rubber Machine Ready for a couple of songs. We'll be right back. So mingle, have a drink, enjoy yourself, get to know other folks around, say hi to someone you don't know.
All right, we're back here on the air.